When your code has more than one condition, how does Python decide what to do? This is where logical operators come in. In this video, we will understand how and, or, and not work in Python step by step with simple examples. Hello learners, welcome to your learning hub, the Learning Loop. I am Swati Sharma and this is the 22nd video of my beginner friendly Python course series. If you are joining me for the first time, thank you for dropping by. And if you haven't checked out my previous videos yet, I would highly recommend you to go back and check those out so that you are all caught up. And before we proceed further, and if you have not subscribed my channel, quickly go ahead and press the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you do not miss out on my future videos. Today we are deep diving into logical operators. So without a further ado, let's dive in. Let's first understand what are logical operators. Logical operators work with conditions and they always return a result as true or false. We use logical operators when we want to check more than one condition at the same time. So instead of writing separate checks, we combine the multiple conditions into single expression. Now, depending on whether the overall result is true or false, Python decides whether the piece of code should run or not. There are three types of logical operators: and, or, and not. Before we dive into examples, let's first understand how these operators combine the conditions and how these operators affect the final result depending on which logical operator we are using. I'll be going over all three operators one by one, and we will see how these operators combine the conditions and how they affect the final result. Let's start with the very first logical operator, that is and operator. Let's say we have condition 1 and condition 2 here. There are two conditions that we need to check. And for AND operator, we use AND operator if we want that both the conditions should satisfy. Both the conditions should be true. Only then we would be using the AND operator. Now, why that is the case, why we should be checking for both the conditions to be true in case of AND, is because with AND operator, only if both the conditions are true, the result would come as true. If any one of the condition come as false, my final result will also result as a false. Even if it's condition 1 or condition 2, if any one of the condition is false, the final result would come as false. Obviously, if both the conditions are not met, the final result will again be false. So if we want that both the conditions should be true, only then I should be using the AND operator. Let's take an example. Let's say I'm holding an election in India and my condition is that the age should be greater than equal to 18. The person should be 18 or over 18, and the nationality of that person should be Indian. Only if these two conditions are met, only if these two conditions are true, only then the person should be allowed to vote. So let's work with the first condition. Let's say the person is over 18 and he is an Indian. Then I would allow him to vote because the final result is coming as true. So I will say, okay, the person can vote. Let's say the person is over 18, but he is not an Indian. So I would say, okay, no, I would not allow him to vote because the person is not meeting one of the condition. The next would be, let's say the person is under 18, but is Indian. Again, he's not meeting one of the conditions, so the result is false and I would not allow him to vote. Let's say both the conditions are false. Person is not is under 18 and is not Indian. In that case as well, I would not allow the person to vote. So you can see in this case, the only condition where the person is allowed to vote is when he is over 18 or she is over 18 and the nationality is Indian. Only then this person is allowed to vote. So when I want that both the conditions should be true, or I want to check if both the conditions are being met, or at that point I would be using the AND operator. Now let's talk about the OR operator and see how OR operator combine the statements and how it affect the final results. Again, let's consider there is condition 1 and there is a second condition. There are two conditions that we need to consider. And for OR, the result would be true if any one of the condition is true. Let's say if both the conditions are true, obviously the result would be true. Okay, and let's say condition 1 is true but condition 2 is false, the result would still be true. Let's say the condition 1 is false but the condition 2 is true, again the result would be true. And the only way the OR would result in false is if both the conditions are false. Okay, so if I want and that any one of the conditions should be meeting, either condition 1 is met or either condition 2 is met, any one of the condition is met, that's when I would be using the OR operator. To understand it more precisely, let's say I hold a photography contest and my condition is the person should have a camera or come with a camera or should come with a phone. Okay, if the person has any one of them, he should be allowed to enter the photography contest. Let's say a person come, he or she has camera and phone both. My condition is met. I just want any one of them. He has both, so I would allow the person to enter the contest. Let's say the second person come, he has a camera but he doesn't have a phone. I would again let him enter because my condition is the person either should have a camera or have a phone. He doesn't have a phone but he has a camera. He's meeting one of my conditions, so I would allow him to enter. Now let's say in the next condition, he doesn't have a camera. The person comes and he doesn't have a camera, but he is carrying a phone. I will again allow him to enter because he has met my condition to have one of them, phone or camera, and the person has a phone. Let's say the next person comes and he neither have a camera nor have a phone. This person would not be allowed to enter because he has not met any of the conditions that I have written. Okay, so with or any one of the conditions should be true. Now for the simplicity, I taken two conditions. Now if we have more than one or two or three conditions, for or any one of the conditions should be true. Like if we have 5 conditions and even one condition is met, the answer would be true. For and, all the 5 conditions or 6 conditions has to be true for the result to be true. Okay, so it is not restrictive of how many conditions we are giving. It could be as many you want. For the simplicity, so that you understand, I have taken only 2 conditions as an example. Now let's take the last operator that we have, which is the NOT operator, which is very, very straightforward, which would just flip the result. Whatever the result is, it will just flip it. If the result is true, it will flip it to false. If the result is false, it will flip it to true. Very basic example I'll give. Let's say I have x is equal to 35 and I give a condition that x greater than 18 and I just put not in front of it. So if you can see, the final result of this condition is true. Now because I have put not in front of it, I will get the final result as false. Before we look into the examples of how logical operators work with Python, I want to introduce one small but important concept, that is the input function. So far, we have been writing the values directly in our code, but in real world programming, the values usually come from the user. The input function allows us to take an input from the user while the program is running. So whenever the program or whenever the Python reaches the input line, it pauses and waits for the user to type something. Whatever the user types, it is then stored in that variable, which will be or which can be used further in a code. Let's see that with an example. Let's say I want to check the age of a user. So I'll just say input and let's say enter your age, and I will say print age. Once the user has entered the age, I will go ahead and print the age. And I can also write something like the age of the person is, a customized message, right? And I'll do this space, and I'll just take it off. And I'll hit enter. You will see the Python has stopped, or Python is prompting me to enter the age. And then let's say I say 55, and I'll have to after that hit enter. You can see the message is printed, the age of the person is 55, because I'm using the variable here that whatever the value is stored in this particular variable, just print that, and it has printed 55 here, right? However, there's one more important thing that I would like you to remember, that whatever you have typed in using the input will always be a text. Okay, so even if you have typed the number, the data type would be string or text, and we can definitely check the data type of age. And I'm just going to take that off. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter, and let's say I hit 45, enter, and we can see the age of the person is 45, but the type of this particular number that I have input is string. So if you want to change it to number or any other data type, we have to specifically write that in front of that input function. For example, I want this in integer format, so I have to change it to integer. So what I did, I'm saying input the function, so it will run this line, the first bracket, that it would give me a prompt to enter the age. And once I have entered it, then it will change it to integer format. Let's run it again. And let's say 34, I hit enter. Now you can see it says the age of the person is 34, but now the data type has been changed to integer. Now let's go with the AND operator example. Now that we have understood input, let's go with the same example that we took when we were understanding how operators combine the conditions and how they behave or how they affect the final result. Let's say I am going for elections in India, and my conditions are the person should be over 18 and the nationality should be Indian. So I'll be using the input function here because that would be very easy for me to display the operators to you. So I'll say int input, and I'll say enter your age, and after that I'll say nationality. I will say is equal to, and then I'll say input because I want this as an integer, so I won't change it. Enter your nationality. And once that is done, now I'm going to put age, a condition here that print, and I'll say age greater than is equal to 18 and nationality is equal to Indian. Okay, so I've given the two conditions here, that age should be greater than is equal to 18 and the nationality should be Indian. And we can also put some dummy the person can vote. Okay. It's a message, and we will get the answer as true or false, and we will know if the person can vote or not. Okay. So now I'm going to run it. Now it is prompting me to enter the age. Let's say I say the age is 25, and the nationality, I want both the conditions to be true, so I'll say Indian. I'll hit enter, and we can see the person can vote. It says true. Okay, let's run it again, and let's say this time I put the age as 17, and again the nationality as Indian. Now one of the condition is false, that is age is less than is not greater than 18, so this condition is false. And but the nationality is Indian, but you can see my answer is false because both the conditions are not true using AND. And for AND, both the conditions should be true for the result to be true. Let's say one more example. Let's say the person is 67 and the nationality is French. Again, the result would be false. And you can see the result is false. Now let's check the OR operator example now. And to be honest, I am going to use the same function above. All I'm going to do is change the AND from OR. Okay, and I say I use this as OR. Now, even if one of the condition is true, the answer would be true. I would let the person vote either he is 18 or he is Indian. Any one of condition is met, then I would let the person vote. Even if both the conditions are true, the person can vote. So let's run it, and I'll say the person is 8, but the nationality is Indian, so I can let him vote. So the answer is true because using OR, one of the conditions should be true, any one of them. And now let's run it again and say the person is 8, but the nationality is French. Also the nationality is French. And you can see the answer is false because both the conditions are false. The person is not over 18 and also is not Indian, and that's why the person cannot vote. That's why I got the person can vote as a false. Now, if let's do the not operator. Okay. And again, I'm going to use the same code that we used above. And I am just going to put not in front of it. I say not. And you will see whatever the result should be, it would be opposite of that. So let's run it. I say enter your age. Let's say I say 75. Nationality, let's say it's Indian. I hit enter. It should be true because I have put not in front of it. You can see I got the answer as false because it flipped the answer. With this, we have come to the end of this video and we have understood what are logical operators, how different logical operators are being used to combine multiple conditions into one expression, and how that affects the final result. In the very next video, we will cover the bitwise operators and will answer how the logical and the AND sign are different. And once we have covered the bitwise operators, we will start the conditional statements. If you like my content, please like, share and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, happy coding!